Hey guys, it's your girl Kizzy Rock, and yes, Kizzy Rock is my birth given name. Happy Monday morning. Want to say hey to all my subscribers, new as well as seasoned. I have a word for you. Tap in. Happy Monday morning, guys. Be careful, be careful, be careful. Before I start, I have a few downloads I want to speak about, but this one I think is most important, at least from my perspective. When you are in a place where you feel like you're not hearing from God for whatever reason. It could be your own reason, your own stuff. You're refusing to do some things that God told you to do. God has went silent on you. Or God just may have you in a posture where you are to be still until he comes back and give you what you need. For whatever reason that you're not hearing from God. This is the time that the enemy will use different things because he knows you're desperate to try to get you to hear from God. If it's not the Holy Spirit, period. It doesn't matter how desperate you are. It doesn't matter how lonely you are. It doesn't matter how confused you are. If it's not from the Holy Spirit, don't touch it, because the enemy is sending witches and warlocks, all kind of other means to make you feel like you're so desperate you got to hear from God. And truth of the matter is, even when you're on social media, if you're tapped in, the minute you click on somebody's video or their recording or whatever they got going on, when you click on it, if it does not align with your spirit will not lie to you. If you're getting some kind of rise up in your spirit, like something isn't right, I don't know, click off and rebuke it, period, on site. You got to be we have to be very careful when we are in a place where we feel like we don't know what to do, go up, down, left, right, God is silent, I don't know what to do next. The enemy will literally start sending things in your pathway to make you feel like you are to start tapping in, asking certain questions. If that spirit is not from the Holy Spirit, if that spirit is not right, do not touch it. Next, you will be tempted. You will be tempted. And that temptation is going to come, well, it can come anywhere when it comes, but right now I'm speaking about you're going to be tempted through a counterfeit. You're going to be tempted through a counterfeit. Whatever that thing is that God has been working on you with, whatever that thing, that pact again that I spoke about a few recordings ago, whatever the pact you made with God, when God gave you a certain vision, download, revelation, when God showed you what he would be doing in your life, wherever he's going to take you, but this can't go. That can't go. This person can't go. Whatever the pact that you made with God and you agreed to it, right? Even if you did release that thing or that person is going to come back in through another person, through another thing, but the pact still remains the same. So you're going to be tempted, and counterfeits look real good. Counterfeit sounds good, but you got to go back to the original download that God gave you. Is that who God said? Is that what God said? Is that where God said? Is that what he initially told you? Because again, counterfeits look real close to it. But the counterfeits are designed, the enemy is sending counterfeits to really get you to take bait, which is going to swerve you off of your original path. So it may look like a good thing, but is it really a God thing? This is why you got to be so disciplined, because if you're not disciplined, when you're full of distractions, people pulling from you, this is why God has removed a lot of people out of your path right now, because so many of us are so close that the enemy is literally trying things from different directions. He's sending counterfeits, sending temptation. The one temptation that you mastered is now amplified. Like, child, like, really? This thing is not for the faint at heart. Let me just tell you. The enemy is determined, all caps, determined that you will not reach destiny. This is why God is bringing convictions and he's pounding them on your head. Left, you turn the TV on. Somebody's convicting you about that thing. The minute you swipe, somebody's swipe on social media, Instagram or whatever. Somebody's convicting you about that thing. You feel like, well, I'm confused. I'm going to go get a word from church or the same thing. It's the same thing over and over right now. It's the same thing over and over right now. But these convictions are more stern than maybe they were months ago. It's almost like, listen, I'm not playing with you. Like, listen, I'm not about to sit here and debate back and forth with you. I've already made it clear, right? Years ago, months ago, decades ago, when you were harassing my nerves about it, or when I needed you to get the download then, I made it clear then. So you had all this time to really work on this thing, and kudos to you. Maybe you did. But now you're back in my face asking me if this is me convicting you about this thing when I've already made it clear long ago. Like, at this point, you should already have some kind of handle on it. Whoo, child. You should already have some type of handle on this thing versus you, like, still struggling to this level. Right? You shouldn't be struggling at this level. You should be at the point where even if you're tempted or something comes up, the minute I convict you, right? The minute the Holy Spirit convicts you, you should automatically know what it is. Like, oh, hold on. Right? Like, hold on. Wait a minute. All right. But yet you're still struggling at it. You're still struggling with it as if you struggled. You're currently still struggling with it at the same level that you were struggling with it at level 1. So where's the growth in that area? Not to say that you will be perfect in that area, but where is the growth? For some of you, it's a person. For some of you, it's some type of vice. It may not even be a sin, but it's a vice. But only you know. You know what that thing is. Nobody have to even tell you. You know what that thing is. You know who that person is. But God has been clear that that thing or that person just can't go. And because many of us are literally so close, closer than we've ever been to certain breakthroughs, that one stronghold is going to cause you to miss the entire destiny. A lot of people just not going to make it. Everybody don't see destiny for different reasons. Again, many people get tired and turn back because this thing is heavy, right? Many people just fall off and like, is it even worth it, right? Some people are not going to make it because you're stubborn. You got a hard head. You're trying to ignore the convictions. When you feel the convictions, you're trying to put it off on the next person. And God has made it clear, no, it's to you. God is literally waking people up in their dreams and bringing the convictions in your face. Everything you read, it's just pounding you. These convictions are more profound than ever. This should tell you how close you are. The enemy is going, and the reason why, well, one reason why that I got as a download, one of the reasons why you have to master this vice. Again, it may not even be a sin, right? It may not be a sin, but if God has brought it to your attention, then it's something. It cannot go. So if you don't master this particular vice, the enemy is going to use it against you at the next level. God is not going to continuously bring something to you if there's not a benefit from it, or if it's not going to be detrimental. Let's say for you it's flesh. Let's say you're a guy. I know guys, I'm always picking on you guys. I actually had this conversation with someone recently, actually. Let's say you've evolved and like you don't have a lot of different things that you're dealing with. Well, first, never get it twisted. Even if you got your certain things under control, don't think that thing can't just pop back up on you at any given time, right? You ain't that cute, boo, period, right? We ain't that cute, boo, right? But let's just say that women are your vices. You just like beautiful women, right? Your flesh. You've already tame your flesh in other areas, but there's something about women. Every time a woman walks past you, honey, you losing your mind. Your flesh is all over the place, right? You may not. Well, I think they say lust is a sin too. I think my Bible scholars, lust is a sin. I think something like that. So if God opens that door tomorrow, and you still can't contain your lust, your flesh, whatever you got going on, in every single woman that walked past you, right? There's beautiful women everywhere. You can't contain that thing. That's what the enemy will use to set you up and bring you down at the next level. So you went through all this. God have really processed you. You've evolved. You're doing your thing now. Whatever you got going on, you're on stages or whatever. God is using you all around the world. But he's never, ever worked with you on containing your flesh when it comes down to women. Wouldn't the enemy use a woman to set you up some kind of way? Even if it's not like a sin per se, but the woman will literally set you up and bring you down. So if you can't master certain things at this level, then why would God take you to the next level? And that's just not for men, that's for women also. For some of you who have this hang up when God tells you to release, like me personally, child, if God tells me to release a person, even though I personally may not even, I'll typically get a conviction about something just isn't right within their spirit. But even if God says you got to release them because the season is up, I'm not the person to hang on to things because I'm all caught up with it. You got to know that you know that you know. If God is telling you to release a person or thing, but a person, it's for a reason. Either that person is holding you back, or either God already knows something can happen and he's trying to protect you. You got to be so tapped in that you don't really question certain things. When if God says do it, you just got to do it. Your obedience game got to be on fleek. Because we don't know nothing. We be thinking we be knowing certain things, and this is why we find out things later on. The same person who you was so fond of is the same person you find out years later trying to take you out. You got to be so tapped in and so obedient that if God says, leave this person alone, and God will keep convicting you. He won't just he will keep convicting you over and over about a person. But between our own flesh wanting to hold on to things, between soul ties, between narc abuse, between trauma triggers, especially childhood wounds, like people who dealt with rejection, let it be through bullies, let it be through your own parents rejected you, your father didn't want anything to do with you, your mother was a crackhead, whatever. But you deal with a lot of rejection wounds from childhood. It will make it extremely difficult for you to walk away from people if you have not went through a healing season. Here's why. It's a lot of reasons why, but what's in my spirit right now is that if a person have rejected you, let's just say it's your father, right? Papa was a Rolling Stone. He had a whole wife, made you on the side. He would see you all the time, wouldn't even speak to you or denying you or whatever. You're doing everything in your power to get his approval, but he never approved of you. Okay, that wound is still open. So now that means the first man you meet, the first woman you meet, whoever, you're trying to latch onto this person. You're going to be attracted to the people who reject you because that's what you're used to. So when you meet a person who's rejecting you, you're trying to do everything in your power to hold on to this person. You're trying to prove yourself. It's hard to let go of this particular person because you're trying to get that wound closed that started in childhood. This is why people with rejection wounds typically take to people who are more avoidant personalities, like the people who are overly hyperly independent, or the people who are standoffish, the people who are more aloof, the people who are more it's weird. You would think you would take to your own type, but it typically is the opposite. So until you go through a healing season, because I don't know why I'm even on this subject, so this got to be for somebody. So the healing season, right? The single season, the healing season, God will close that wound first. The wound that you have from childhood, God will close that wound first. So then once God caps the wound by taking you through your healing season, build you back up, show you a lot of things so you can really understand that it had nothing to do with you. It really was about the other person. Half the time, honey, your peoples, your parents, your grandparents, them people had more struggles than you that you don't even know about because they never even spoke about. So God will show you all that stuff so you will understand that they did the best they could. It really wasn't about me, X, Y, and Z, but God had to take you through a healing season where he capped that wound. Then you're no longer trying to latch onto a person for closure because you already have that closure in your healing season. But if you never went through a healing season, a single season, an isolation season, which everybody fights against, then that wound is still open and you're trying to. This is why you can't leave people alone right now who don't even want anything to do with you. And truth of the matter is, sometimes the person is just as damaged as you. So they're running from you because they've never been loved or introduced to proper love. So proper love scares them. So you think they're running from you because there's something wrong with you, but they're running from you because it's like that proper love is heavy. You got to be healed in order to experience proper, wholesome love. So they're unhealed and you're trying to love on them and prove to them how much you love them. And I don't understand because you said everybody did you wrong. I'm trying to do you right, but you're running from it because they themselves haven't went through a healing season to close that wound. It's a whole zoo, honey. It's a whole zoo. So this is why a healing season is so necessary. I don't even know who needed that, honey, because that went all the way left. That was not even in my notes. So if that's you, you are not the problem, boo. You are not the problem. Men or women. And saying for men, because you got some men out here who will attach themselves to women who are not available, women who have daddy issues, women who have their own trauma wounds. Because, well, I'll just make another whole recording on that because I actually got a download about that last night. So I'm going to make another whole recording on that, on how these different wounds can cause different issues in your childhood and in your adulthood, and you're trying to figure out, why can I leave this person alone? Why this? Why I'm only attracted to this, that, and the third, all this other nonsense, right? It's a whole recording I'm going to put together on that with some downloads I received. But back to being careful. Whatever you do, guys, do not ignore your convictions right now. Do not ignore. Do you know a door can open for you tomorrow? Like today? Like the next hour? But if you ignore certain convictions, like you can miss your whole door? Oh, it's serious. You guys have a great one. It's your girl, Kizzy Rock.